get rid of the Department of Education. Very, very quickly done. But getting back to the main point, a lot of people ask, what programs do you want to cut? What giant departments? But if you go under my plan, which is immediately a 10% cut in every single agency in the federal government, that saves money. And then, like I said before, we move back up to upwards of 20%. We ask ourselves and we ask our candidates, do you want limited government? And we say yes. But yet, we don't go and cut the agencies and cut the workforce. Again, like I said, they make more money on average than we do. Plus, they have the bonus baby, which is the pension, which is killing us. It's a simple thing. In our lives here in the 19th district, when times are tough, when you're worrying on whether or not the milk prices have risen, whether you're going to get Tropicana orange juice or the store-made brand, you have to make those decisions on a day-to-day basis. So it might be, I have 5 kids, we might make that decision that, you know what, I'm only going to buy Tropicana, the premium brand, maybe every 3 weeks. And that's just like my plan of cutting every department 10% and making up. Because it's a common sense solution that if you are cutting your budgets now, whether it's focusing on getting rid of cable TV or cutting back on Nintendo games, not a plug for Nintendo, but getting all that done, you make those hard choices. If you elect me as your next congressman, I guarantee you I will make those tough choices for you because I know what you're going through on a daily basis.
Because my friend Bill is here. There's something I forgot to mention, and I promised Bill in December. There is another huge chunk of the budget, certainly as far as a member of Congress is concerned, and that's Congress's own appropriation for itself. And I think that really ought to be cut to the bone. There should be no congressional pensions. The whole idea. Via earmarks should be eliminated by pledging not to seek earmark appropriations, and I've actually signed the pledge to that effect from Citizens Against Government Waste. And I have promised Bill Barker that I will reduce my own spending, my own appropriation spending for my office in the Congress by 10% when I get there, good Lord willing, with your help. And Bill, I am determined to do that. So, and to put myself through college, and I'm envisioning working behind a used steel case desk in that office in Congress. I'll be thinking of you, Bill, every day.
Okay, this question is about the welfare program. A work-to-welfare program was started, however, it has not done anything to reduce the amount of applicants in welfare. What can and will be done to return Americans to work and to educate Americans to fulfill the workforce?
The fundamental problem with a work-to-welfare program, it does sound good. I mean, if somebody's getting support from the government, then do something to make a contribution in some way. The problem with it, of course, is that really work should be produced within the private sector. And instead of those dollars cycling through the federal government to get to the recipients of various sorts of aid, we should allow the private sector to keep those funds to begin with so that we can have real growth of entities, industries, businesses, employers that work for us. That's the whole beauty of the market system. That's what's made us great, is that consumers make choices. We have competition, we understand what businesses and providers work for us, and we can decide on that basis what we want to grow and what opportunities we want to grow, what kind of educational needs we need to fulfill. becomes a rational marketplace. What we have created is a system of dependencies, unfortunately. And some of that actually does include the way in which we fund training programs and student loans. The federal government has now essentially taken over the student loan business. That's not right either. It's a virtuous idea. We want to make sure that everybody who wants to get an education can afford it. And my mother is an example of when she grew up in England. She's a very gifted lady. If you met her, you'd be very impressed. She's very well read. She couldn't afford to go to college when she was a young woman in England. She didn't have the opportunities that I had. And because of my parents working so very hard, I could attend college and medical school. I also, of course, as I mentioned, contributed my own labors, including working in a steel mill. But what we need to do is have a student loan industry that responds to the marketplace. And when the federal government administers it, that's not possible. So we need to remember that the marketplace is good. As I've mentioned before, this is an ideologically driven administration in Congress. To them, government is good. Government will decide. They know better than you. That's wrong. You know better than the federal government does. The federal government, thank you. The federal government to provide the framework for your liberties, secure borders, and national defense, foreign relations that make sense, interstate commerce, and beyond that, it's up to you. And that's what we need to remember, and that's how we need to manage this country's wealth and resources.
I want limited government. I don't want government programs that have consistently shown that they do not know how to do anything right. Look at the U.S. postal system. They have no clue. We have to let you decide on how this works. And this is how it works. We lower your individual taxes and we lower the corporate tax rate. Under my opponent's plan, she came up with an idea. This is how it works. We've never run for office before. We haven't. So we have a website which is designed to let you know where we stand. A lot of people have congressional bullet points that you've seen on Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck, O'Reilly, and it's all there. The one opportunity that my opponent had to let you know what her vision is for us is to allow the federal government to confiscate 49 cents of every dollar you own. It's on her website, it's on her videos, and it's undeniable. She has tried to spin it, that she didn't mean it, and it was in the best, in one newspaper she was quoted, it was in the best interest of the taxpayer. Taking 49 cents of every dollar I make is not in the best interest of me. I don't know about you. Hey, that's not good for me. The second thing she said is that it was an idea that came from her communications director. The last time, ideas are beliefs. If I say that it's acceptable for the government to take 49 cents of every dollar earned, like my opponent did, I believe in that. She believes in that. So when she goes to Washington, D.C., and she goes up to the liberals, and they want to lower taxes, if I'm a liberal, I'm going to say, man, let's start at 75%. And then go 49%. Deal! I'm not going to do that. Do you understand? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to say lower, lower, lower. She had one opportunity to tell you what her vision is. 98% of her website are congressional bullet points that we've all heard, and those are great, and I'm in favor of them. But the one time she came to show you her true leadership, she's advocating a 49 cents tax on every dollar you earn. And that is unacceptable. And I would never allow the government to take 49 cents every dollar you last night, I brought up the same points. And during the rebuttal, she repeated the same thing I said. So, she did not say, I'm sorry that was a mistake. So the question you have to ask yourself, who are we sending to Washington, D.C.? Me, a true conservative, or someone who is willing to let the government confiscate 49 cents of every dollar you earn?
I want to extend the 2001 and 2003 tax cuts permanently. I want to eliminate the estate tax and the alternative minimum tax. I want to reduce capital gains and corporate and dividend taxes. I want you to keep your money. You deserve it. The federal government should take absolutely as little as possible. Just as an interesting statistic, right now the aggregate burden, federal, state plus local, that a lot of people pay here in New York runs to 60 to 70%, which is really alarming. We will change the federal burden when we get to Washington.
She repeated the same thing. Oh my God. The state of Florida does not have a state income tax. So according to her plan, if a town in Florida has, say, 3%, she said combined 49%, then according to her, the government is allowed to take 46% more. It's simple math. And if you use that deceiving tactic of, in New York State, 59%, 70% of taxes that are risen, and using the alternative minimum tax argument, then she is in favor of redistribution of wealth. Because everyone knows that the alternative minimum tax penalizes people who make a lot of money. Okay? So if they make a lot of money, and my opponent is saying, hey, I want to move it down from 59% in New York to 49%, what does that tell you? She's agreeing to 49%. It's simple math. There's no other way you can figure it out. No matter what she says, she continues to repeat the same thing, so you might not pay attention. She's advocating between the three, 49 cents of every dollar. The first time that she had an opportunity to tell you her vision, 49 cents of every dollar was acceptable. Common sense.